Pounders? Today we're going to be doing a recap of the Week 4 NFL slate and starting with the London game, which ended in a 23-7 finish. Super easy game for the Jaguars because of Desmond Ridder, basically. Desmond Ridder throwing back-to-back picks. Really didn't want to win this game, and there are some questions at QB, but just got an update just a few minutes ago that he will be starting Week 5. Not great for Pitts, not great for London. We're just going to go right off the bat. 31 of these attempts, you had how many go to running backs? We had 2 targets for Algier and 5 for Robinson. 7 of the 31 attempts, just under 25% to running backs. That's not great. And like I said, I think you're only going to be seeing either Pitts or London get there every other week. It's only going to be one of them, and you barely get London saved by a touchdown for an 8.8, a 10.3 game in half-point PPR. This is a full-point PPR scoring slate here. Jonnu Smith getting 6 targets, 6 catches, and 95 yards. Designed plays for Jonnu Smith has to have the Kyle Pitts truth. There's just punch in air. And trust me, I have a Kyle Pitts team in redraft, and I haven't been selecting him all summer. I don't know why I did it. Just hedging my bet. I should have just stayed on my own path. Anyways, from the Jaguars side of things, Trevor Lawrence didn't really have to do a whole lot. He had a pretty efficient day, but the offense wasn't firing off on all cylinders. He's making high probability throws to both Christian Kirk, who had 12 targets, 8 catches, 84 yards, and to Evan Ingram. 8 targets. This guy is like an old school Tyler Higbee. He's like the old Tyler Higbee used to be, just very dependable, a weekly starter, and you know you're going to get a pretty high floor just because the amount of targets this guy's pulling. Ridley looked like he was going to have a monster day after having a touchdown with 5 minutes left in the first quarter. Goes on to catch one more ball. ETN getting 3 targets, 3 catches, which is good for him. Tank Bigsby definitely took a back seat this game. You also saw ETN with 20 carries. Now, Atlanta's pretty good on the ground on defense, so 2.8 yards per carry, pretty gross, but this is the big thing. Bigsby only getting 3 carries, and not like he did much with it, and D'Ernest Johnson getting 1 carry, and that's just for change of pace to give ETN a break. So that's huge there for ETN. This team, it seems like it's missing Zay Jones, especially in the red zone. That's sort of the vibe I got from it. But moving on to the next game, we'll do these in order too. Ravens 28, Cleveland Browns 3, and you had a late notification that Deshaun Watson wasn't going to play this game. So DTR comes in, throws 3 picks, super low YPA. It's pretty much expected. Amari Cooper was a sit because of this. Even Njoku, I probably would sat him, even though he did the best on the team. Ended up getting 7 targets, 6 catches, 46 yards. But everyone on this team was a sit with Deshaun Watson being out. That was pretty clear and evident. I had Zay Flowers as a sit. Got a little bit of hate on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. And he ends up going for 8 in full point PPR. Was at 6.5 in half point. Definitely was a sit in this matchup. Cleveland has a good backfield. They have a good secondary. So Lamar didn't have to do a whole lot. He threw the ball 15 times. Just a super efficient day. 2 tutties. Mark Andrews, both catches for the touchdowns, 5 for 5, 80 yards. He had a great day as a tight end, especially. Gus Edwards got the rock, 17 times or something? Gus Edwards got 15 carries and 2 targets, 2 catches. 3 targets, 2 catches. Melvin Gordon getting in the mix a little bit. Just a little, though. 3 carries for 21. But yeah, this team didn't have to do a whole lot to beat DTR and the Browns. Lamar Jackson getting there on the ground, 2 touchdowns himself. Running backs, Ford, 9 carries. Kareem Hunt, with 5. Pierre Strong Jr. with 5. It looks like it's a 3-headed backfield right now. They are giving Elijah Moore a few carries every game, but after he runs backwards for 25 yards and then recoups like 5 of those, he does that too many more times. He's probably not going to be getting any more carries on the ground. But yeah, this is looking gross here for the Ravens, and you can just pretty much ignore the passing receptions for the Browns in this one. There are going to be better days when Deshaun Watson returns, so we're not worried when Watson returns. You're starting Amari Cooper. Njoku, probably a low-end tight end too. This game, we're expecting fireworks on both sides. We got fireworks, but really just from Josh Allen. And if you want to give it to him, A-Chain for running backs in Miami. He had his first 2 carries went for touchdowns. So he exploded off 2 carries, and he surprisingly gets them in the red, both in the red zone. So he had like 2 carries for like 12 yards and 2 touchdowns. Absolutely ridiculous. He's going to be that spike week guy. We'll see if this continues. We'll see what his role looks like next week when Jeff Wilson returns. If Jeff Wilson is going to get into the mix in the red zone, being a bigger back, we will see. Goal line, potential, all that. But a bright spot for A-Chain is he was targeted 5 times. So that will keep him relevant in full point PPR, and it'll help boost him in half point PPR as well. So really, he's definitely a hold type player. Mostert we had as a sell high. He gets 7 carries for 9 yards. They really shut him down. And Miami, it didn't look like Waddle was fully there. Coming back from concussion this week, he ends up with 5 targets, 4 catches, 46 yards. And they were just playing deep. You could tell they didn't want to give up the big play. It's a good strategy against Miami. So you do see it gets spread out here with targets. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different players getting targets. 2 running backs. Like they're getting everyone involved. It wasn't as condensed of an offense this week, which is why you're seeing, limited targets even for Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill looks like he also may have pulled up on one of those plays where it looks like he was reaching for his knee. So we'll keep an eye on the practice reports this week. That's going to be important. Diggs, just a super efficient day. 3 tutties, 120 yards, 6 catches. Gabe Davis looked like he was going to have a big day with an early touchdown, 3 catches, 61 yards. And he'll be a flex. He's actually been pretty consistent. So Gabe Davis is definitely in flex territory, wide receiver 3 range for sure. Kincaid, and it's tough. Let's peek this real quick. The snap count week 4 for these tight ends. Knox at 52 and 50% here, Knox and Kincaid. So it is really tough to depend on one of these 2 guys. The usage is just pretty split. They are running some 2 tight end sets too, which is nice. But Diggs is the main guy here. Diggs is the main guy. Running backs, James Cook, super inefficient. You're seeing Damian Harris get 6 carries, Latavius Murray 4 carries, probably because the lead was so big. But they end up actually having a better yards per carry average than James Cook. Josh Allen gets in the end zone on the ground. We love to see that for his value. And yeah, just keep an eye on Tyreek Hill this week for practice is going to be the main thing. Tough matchup for the Dolphins, especially when you're behind and they're trying to run the ball, and they were running the ball efficiently. So, but again, they didn't want to give up that big play to Tyreek Hill, so give up some yards on the ground is sort of what I was seeing for a game plan perspective for the Buffalo defense. Next one, we had Vikings 21 and Carolina Panthers 13. And this one's just pretty gross. Takeaways, like 19 attempts for Kirk Cousins. They had a defensive score, which really changed this game right on its head. Kirk Cousins threw 2 interceptions, so he was off the mark. This is a Kirk Cousins that was averaging 46 passing attempts through the first 3 weeks. Comes in, throws the ball 19 times. And they get the dub. It was a weird one. Madison, pretty efficient on the ground, 5.6 yards per carry. Cam Akers looked good, 5 carries for 40 yards. Expect this they're each going to have their week, I think. Again, before the game started, coach said they're going to ride the hot hand. Dude, week 1, Cam Akers dressing up. We're going to ride the hot hand. So I think it's going to be tough to trust Madison in the next few weeks, like as soon as the next few weeks, if they're going to be going with that approach. This is good. 17 carries for Madison is very good. If he can get 17, 15 touches even, that's fine for flex range. That is completely fine. I just think it's going to drop down to around 12. And then Cam Akers is going to go to around 8. Because this team, they do want to throw the ball. And they are usually playing from behind. This one was just a strange one where, again, they get a defensive touchdown. Jordan Addison disappeared. I'm not worried about Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison right now becomes a great buy low target after this donut. After he puts up an absolute donut. He's on the field for 58% of snaps. KJ Osborne's went down as well, so it looks like they just attacked on the ground more in this one. As you see, they bring in Josh Oliver, so we're running a couple more 2 tight end sets here. So again, blocking, and they are getting it done on the ground in this one against Carolina. So hard to take away anything too much from there. I think we're just going to go right back to pass happy team next week. So Bryce Young, 25 to 32, no touchdowns. This is good. At least this is up from his first 4 weeks because he was, I believe, had the lowest yards per attempt average through the first 3 weeks. So week 4, he gets a little bump. Adam Thielen gets a carry. Chuba Hubbard gets 14 carries. That's probably a big surprise here after Miles Sanders was inefficient, but both of them really having terrible days on the ground. They couldn't get anything going on the ground there. Marshall, 10 targets, 9 catches, 56 yards. Adam Thielen still mixing in there as like wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 numbers, which the back-to-back weeks having 8+ targets is huge. DJ Chark, going to be that boom bust guy, not starting him. And Hayden Hurst, leaving him on the waivers. Flying up to the next one, we had Philly versus Commanders, and this was actually an entertaining and close game towards the end. I thought Washington should have gone for a 2-point conversion to either win or lose the game at the very end. Playing away, playing a top defense in the league, trying to win it in overtime. I don't know. That's just my thoughts on it. Sam Howell had a pretty good game. Didn't give up the ball. Had 5 sacks and 6 carries for 40 yards. Like, that's nice. Curtis Samuel had a great game here too. Brian Robinson, this was expected. Touchdown saved his fantasy day, but the Philly defensive line's no joke. Antonio Gibson just really being a non-factor this year. Non-factor. Getting word that Joe Burrow calf will start week 5. So that's an early start for him. And it also appears that T. Higgins may not be missing anytime. So don't go out there and blow all your fab on Tyler Boyd. Philly carries. Swift gets in the end zone. He ends up having a decent day. Basically because of the touchdown, though. Curtis Samuel, 7 catches, 51 yards. Terry McLaurin, 8 catches, 86 yards. And Dotson gets in the end zone. 4 catches, 27 yards, 9 targets, though. So that is good to see. Antonio Gibson getting 1 target. Brian Robinson, he's even getting more targets than Antonio Gibson. So Brian Robinson, the clear number 1 here. We can go through here and we can look at the snap count between the 2 running backs. And you have 55%, 38% split. So you look at these numbers. It goes down here. Antonio Gibson gets like the come behind type numbers, 3rd down roll, and he didn't do anything with it. And now Brian Robinson takes it back over. So it really does look like they could phase out Antonio Gibson completely. Brian Robinson gets 16 touches in this one. That's beautiful. If you have Brian Robinson, you are not mad about that. On the Philly side thing, A.J. Brown destroyed again. 175 yards, 9 catches, 2 touchdowns. Really was the most efficient. Devonta Smith didn't have a bad game, like from a football perspective. 9 targets, 7 catches, 78 yards. is a good game, and he's going to have his spike weeks too. Goddard, man, there was a lot of Goddard truthers before the season started that he's going to have his breakout season in a relatively condensed offense, and it is. But it's tough for two players to really get there on the same week on a Jalen Hurts squad that also wants to run the ball because they have a top O-line. So we're sort of seeing that. And tight end's been a crapshoot so far. And if you can go out there and buy Waller, I think Waller and just the Giants will look better with Saquon back. And we know Daniel Jones and his stats heavily rely on the run game and Saquon. So a little projection there. I think Waller ends up, he's tight end 8 right now, which isn't bad. Tight end 8 before week 4 started. He plays tonight. Today's Monday. So we'll see where he ends up after tonight. But top 10, top 12 tight end, and I think he has room to expand. But yeah, really good game from Philly here. 25 of 37, over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Really nice. And that was an entertaining one as well. This is probably the biggest surprise, and I had Derrick Henry as a bounce back this week, and he does exactly just that. 1 completion, 2-yard titty. So funny. Derrick Henry throws a titty, and he also runs one in. 22 carries, 122 yards. Tannehill, pretty efficient, 18 of 25, 240 yards, 9.6 YPA. So he's chucking. He's chucking the ball. Joe Burrow, we'll get to that side of things in a second. My God. Tyjae Spears getting 4 carries for 5 carries for 40 yards. Really nice. Really nice there. Jeez, the Cincinnati side of things is just so gross. Derrick Henry, 1 catch. Nick Westbrook, he had a good game. He ends up in the end zone for 1. DeAndre Hopkins, 4 catches for 63 yards. Very close to having a touchdown, though. I think Tannehill just overthrew him by like 6 inches to a foot. It was close. Chiggy, this wasn't a bad start this week for Chiggy. I think the process was right with no, whatever his face. Oh my God, blank. Treylon Blanks. With no Burks, Chiggy was a decent start. I thought this week off waivers. But 3 catches, 29 yards doesn't really have the game that you're hoping for. But again, tight end positions, it's pretty rough anyways. Tyjae Spears, 4 targets. Yeah, it's really muddy here. I really do think Treylon Burks, there's still hope. And I mean, DeAndre Hopkins does get hurt every year, but we'll see. Treylon Burks, knee injury, if you can put him on your IR spot, that now that he's injured, I'd just go scoop him up. It'll cost you nothing. And Cincinnati side things, so gross. So gross. And I kind of figured this would be a mix-in touchdown game. And he gets in. Does he get in the air? He doesn't even get in. Now the Titans have a top defense, but Joe Burrow is he's suffering so bad. And blame the calf, blame no OTAs. But you could tell Higgins goes down and this team just brings in everybody. They just bring in everybody's getting snaps. Tanner Hudson, Trenton Irwin, they're just looking for someone to make a play. Burrow had no time in this game. He was under pressure constantly. So Chase, 7 catches for 73 yards, good game. I saw a quote. Chase says, "I'm fucking open every play," something like that. It was like, I know you are, man. I know you are. Joey, just throw to Chase every play, I guess. I guess that's what we're going to do for here on out. But if you guys haven't already, go down, smash the like, and help me tremendously. Subscribe to the channel. We're almost at 1K. We're 11 subs away from 1K. And just a great accomplishment, and I appreciate everyone that's been tagging along this past year. T. Higgins, again, I think he's going to be playing next week, is the current word. So if there's already hope this early, again, we have to manage. We'll have to see practices. If you have T. Higgins, maybe. If your bench is rather shallow, picking up Tyler Boyd's not a bad idea. And then this game, we had the Bucks against New Orleans. 26-9. Man, Baker Mayfield's being a serviceable quarterback, which what more could you ask for from Godwin and Mike Evans and even Cade Otton, I believe, gets in the end zone in this one. Derek Carr, 23 of 37, 127 yards, no touchdowns. Really tough day. Really tough day. Baker Mayfield rushing 8 times for 31 yards, getting it done on the ground. Man, really, just having a really full, complete game, to be honest. Rashad White, 15 carries, 56 yards, 3.7 yard per carry, pretty gross. It's been low 3 of the 4 games he's played in. Alvin Kamara, 11 carries, 51 yards, but even better. Alvin Kamara, how many targets did this dude end up with? 14 targets, 13 catches for 33 yards. So in half-point PPR, getting 6.5 here. That's about 10. And then another, 5? So 15-point game in half-point PPR is not bad for Alvin Kamara's first game back. You see Kendre Miller only getting 1 carry. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Chris Godwin crushed this one. 11 targets, 8 catches, 114 yards. Devin Tompkins just getting random players involved here. Trey Palmer gets in the end zone. Rookie. Shout out to Drew. Cade Otton, 3 catches, a touchdown, 13 yards. And New Orleans side of things, it was just pretty flat all the way around. I think this is the biggest. 6 targets, 1 catch, 4 yards for Chris Olave. An absolute bust of a day. Yikes. Go on to the next one. Denver Broncos 31. In the Bears 28. They blew it. And they blew it. There's no other way to say it. Justin Fields was great through 3.5 quarters. Fumble 6 to Denver, and that was it. Basically, it was all downhill from there. Passer ratings just really, really high for both QBs. 3 touchdowns for Russell Wilson, 21 of 28. 4 touchdown throws for Fields, 335 yards. Like, defense couldn't stop the flu. So Russell Wilson, 4 carries, and this is crazy. When Javonte Williams goes down, P. Ryan doesn't even step up. It's not even P. Ryan. So we'll keep an eye on the Javonte Williams injury. Is this just a sleepy pickup? It's crazy. Let's keep our eyes on the practices for Javonte Williams this week. Justin Fields, 4 carries, 25 yards. You want this to be higher, but he didn't have to. Khalil Herbert was crushing it on the ground, 18 carries, 103 yards. Doesn't get in the end zone, but has a very good game. The rookie getting 5 carries as well. Crazy how many people they get involved in this offense. Luce Jones. Glad he's still on the team, I guess. 3 targets for McLaughlin. 5 for Sutton and a touchdown. Brandon Johnston, this guy's been on a touchdown spree. 4 yards, 1 catch. So nothing crazy. Again, look how many people they get involved here. So not a very condensed offense. And Judy, Sutton. Now Sutton gets there with the touchdown, but Judy, it's going to start to hurt these guys' production. Marvin Mims. It's beyond me why we're not just giving Marvin Mims 50% of those snaps. Let's take a quick peek here. Mims is 20 or 30%. Okay, so it's going up. It went up. That's good. But Lil Jordan Humphrey getting 21%. Brandon Johnson, sure. If he's making plays, he's scoring touchdowns, get him out there. Humphrey, can this go down 21%? And can we just give him half? Can we get Marvin Mims out there 40, 45%? I think it's going to happen eventually. But really, for Marvin Mims and his upside to be unlocked, you need an injury to Sutton or Judy. It's just sort of is what it is. DJ Moore blows up. Cole Kmet blows up. 2 touchdown upside. We had 3 lineups of Justin Fields and Cole Kmet in Battle Royale. Not the right pieces around it, but we did have some pretty good finishes. Khalil Herbert gets in the end zone in the air. 4 catches. That's really good for him. Again, we thought Rashawn Johnson might be the third down back, and he still can take over this role, but Khalil Herbert was definitely the number one yesterday. Mooney has an okay bounce back game, 51 yards, 4 targets, 4 catches. But, man, that was a heartbreaker. That was a heartbreaker for Chicago fans, heartbreaker for Justin Fields as well. And more importantly, they hold they're 0-4. 0-4. So, do they tank for Caleb? Too soon? Rams 29, Colts 23. The Rams pull this one out, and man, Kyron Williams, another 2 touchdowns on the ground, 25 carries, 100 yards. In the air, he gets 3 catches for 24 yards. Puka, 10 targets, 9 catches, 163 yards, and a touchdown. He goes nuclear again. Not an amazing game from Staffy. He gets there, though, with 300 yards, a touchdown, 1 pick. A-Rich, he's getting there, and this was a great come-from-behind game as well for A-Rich, really showing that he's got it. Now, they didn't finish it, but they have the capability to come from behind, and it was impressive for a rookie to do that, especially one that's known for just running. So 2 touchdowns thrown. He had a 2-point conversion too. Like, it was a good game. 10 carries, 56 yards, and a touchdown on the ground. Zach Moss, okay day, 3.9, not the best. Zach Moss also goes without a catch in this one. Molly Cox gets a touchdown. And Ogletree gets in the end zone. 5 targets, 1 catch for Pittman. I believe Pittman caught a 2-point conversion, though, which isn't shown here. But really, just spreading the ball around. As you can see, no one breaking 50 yards for the Colts. And that was sort of the worry. But we'll see if it's an outlier game. We'll see if Pittman has a bounce back week next week. Texans 30, Pittsburgh Steelers 6, and it's all falling apart for the Steelers right now. You also have Pickett going down with an injury in this one, 15 of 23 and a pick. CJ Stroud throwing the ball 30 times in this one. But what's even more important, they want to get Pierce involved. Like 24 carries. I believe he had 16, 17 touches last week. Like, they want to get him involved. And this could be still a good buy low target. They're without 3 or 4 offensive linemen. They're without a center. Like, this team is going to get healthy. They're going to be running the ball more efficiently. And on top of that, CJ Stroud has it, right? Like, he is having sustained drives. He's putting the ball in the end zone every single game. And so is Singletary. Oh, man. I saw some crazy stat where it's like 3 running backs or whatever, like Keenan Allen, Singletary, and someone else combined for three touchdown passes is more than Joe Burrow in all 4 weeks. Sad. Like, why you gotta put that out there, you know? Najee, 14 carries for 71 yards. Like, not a bad day average-wise on the ground. But it's pretty ugly. Hopefully the Pickett injury isn't too serious. It doesn't keep him out for too long. This team's severely missing Deontay Johnson, though, and it shows. Like, George Pickens can only go up and make so many contested catches a game. You need that guy in the middle of the field. They're missing it right now. They're really, really missing it. Nico Collins, however, went nuclear. 2 touchdowns, 7 catches, 168 yards. Schultz gets in the end zone for 42 yards and 3 catches. Pierce had a 27-yard catch. Singletary getting in the mix a little bit there too. Robert Woods kind of taking a back seat now. Tank Dell, better days are ahead. And Robert Woods still getting 6 targets is big. Nico with the most with 9. So Stroud is the real deal. I definitely have Damian Harris as a buy low target right now. Chargers 24 and the Raiders 17. And this was an ugly one without Jimmy. But, you know, Justin Herbert probably made it closer than it needed to be. Justin Herbert fractures a non-throwing hand finger. Aiden O'Connell almost with a great comeback. At least it was an entertaining game. Doesn't throw a touchdown, has one pick. 24-39. Josh Jacobs, 17, and they want to give Jacobs the ball, and of course they had to here with O'Connell. But this is going to be every game here on fourth is he's going to have that 15 to 17, 15 to 18 plus touches a game, and they got him involved in the passing game. Like 11 targets, of course, like dumping it off, but Jimmy G likes to dump the ball off as well. So even when Jimmy G comes back, I expect him to still have 4+ targets every single game. Devontae Adams, he gets hurt in this one. He comes back. I believe he hurt his shoulder. And Myers. Myers is a sneaky play when Jimmy G's back. Really clicks with Jimmy G's playing style. This is probably the biggest disappointment on the day is from the Chargers standpoint. On the ground, they give Kelly 17 touches. Justin Herbert rushed the ball 12 times for 27 yards and 2 touchdowns. 12 times. Keenan Allen, 5 targets. Without Mike Williams, he gets 5 targets. What's that? Huge surprise here. Palmer, looks like he might have just been doubled, though. Palmer, 8 targets, 3 catches, 77 yards. And let's take a quick look at how many snaps the rookie got in this one. Los Angeles Chargers. Quinn Johnson played 51% of snaps. Very condensed offense. Keenan Allen, 75%. Palmer, 86%. Quinn Johnson. Now, sure, Justin Herbert had an off day where he throws the ball 24 times, goes 13 of 24. But Quentin Johnson getting 1 catch for 18 yards? Some red flags. There's some red flags there. Definitely still worth a stash spot on your bench, but it looks like Palmer is light years ahead of Quentin Johnson right now. And that's back-to-back games. San Fran, 35. Cardinals, 16. And it was a game for a little bit. Dobbs struck back, and he brought it within a touchdown. And, of course, CMC is going to go do CMC-type things. Brock Purdy throwing 1 incomplete pass. 20 of 21. Just, he's efficient. He's effective in this offense, is high scoring. 283 yards, 1 touchdown. So his YPA is super high. But again, he has playmakers that could just take the ball to the house. Dobbs, 12 carries, 48 yards. Christian McCaffrey, 20 carries, 106 yards, 3 touchdowns on the ground. There was no Elijah Mitchell in this one. See Debo with 3 carries for 6 yards. Looks like Debo was still sort of nursing that rib injury. 8 targets for CMC, 7 catches, 71 yards, and a touchdown. Brandon Ayuk right back on the moon. Another 20-point plus game. 6 targets, 6 catches, 148 yards. And Kittle, probably the biggest disappointment in this one. 1 catch for 9 yards. And he's been like an Arizona Cardinals killer. So that was definitely a rough one. James Conner, actually pretty efficient on the ground, 11 for 52. But when you're behind, you can only run the ball so much. Zach Ertz pulls 10 targets. Marquise Brown, 10 targets. And Michael Wilson gets in the end zone 2 times. Oh, my God. 2 times. Looking like the real deal. He's also not fun size. So that helps this offense with size. But Zach Ertz, 10 targets, 6 catches, 53 yards. Crazy. McBride, he would definitely need an injury for Ertz to be relevant this year. That's the way it's looking right now. And is that possible? Yeah, pretty possible. This was an ugly one. Dallas Cowboys defense versus Mac Jones, I guess. Dallas has been in these weird game script type games where like they don't need to throw the ball to Lamb that much. So I think Lamb could be a pretty good buy low target if people are hating on Dallas right now. And Dak did what he had to do to win this game. He went 28 of 34. the Patriots side of things, like I guess we can look into the running backs, but 14 carries. Zeke's going to be featured in this one. Well, that feature was 6 carries for 16 yards. Nice. Lamb, 1 carry for 12 yards. Pollard, really not efficient on the ground. And then once they got a big lead, they just start giving the ball to anyone and everyone. Henry had a good game. He had amazing one-hand catch, pull into the body. But that's the only bright side spot I could even find on this team. And there are better days ahead for Lamb. There are better days ahead for this offense as a whole. Ferguson pulling 7 targets, 7 catches. He's a main target in the red zone right now. Gallup having back-to-back pretty good games. And Lamb having an okay game with the touchdown saving his day for sure. But they didn't have to do a lot to win this one. They really didn't. So Lamb could be a decent buy low target if the Lamb owner is willing to move him. I know in a few of my leagues, they're not happy with Dallas in general. And if you remember the first game, they were beating the Giants by like 30 in the first half. So game script is definitely relevant. And you want to be able to project if these players are going to be good values in the future. And I believe Lamb is that guy. 23-20. This game was way closer than it had to be. What was KC? What happened to KC? Mahomes made some depth throws that were just way off. 18 of 30, 2 interceptions. Just Mahomes was off this game. Mahomes was off. Pacheco, however, saved him. 20 carries, 115 yards, and a touchdown. He looked great. He broke a long one to the house. He had a 48-yard carry. Mahomes, 7 carries, 51 yards. One of those was on 3rd and 20 when there was a blatant hold. Zach Wilson, 2 carries, 14 yards. Breece Hall, 6 carries, 56 yards. It just seems like they don't want to unleash Breece Hall. And is that saving him for next season? Is he still being ramped up with the knee injury? Are they eventually going to get him there? Is he eventually going to get 10, 12, 14 touches by the end of the season? Or is this team going to continue to lose? And is it just not worth using him and maybe just keeping him fresh and healthy for next season? It's completely possible. It really is. But the skill is there. Receiving side of things, yeah, Kelsey ends up with a decent day, 6 catches for 60 yards for a tight end perspective. Noah Gray gets the touchdown, though. Sky Moore, 2 targets, 0 yards. 0 yards for Sky Moore. Pacheco, 3 catches, 43 yards. Just really good playmaker. He's out there, and I just love the way he plays. Like, I have a lot of respect for the way he plays the game. Just, he was getting a little feisty out there, which I also like, but you have to be smart too. He definitely could have got flagged for one of those pushes. Lazard ends up getting in the end zone, 3 catches, 61 yards, 14 targets for Garrett Wilson, 9 catches, 60 yards. Fine for full point PPR. He's flexible in half point PPR. But again, this game script was really good for the Jets. You're not always going to get this type of game script. Conklin doesn't get the touchdown. Uzama does. But Conklin still has a decent day, 58 yards on 4 catches. Man, that was a close game too. I was pulling for the Jets. As a Pats fan, I want the Pats to lose every single game to end the season. I want to tank so bad. But that's just me. Guys, if you enjoyed today's stream, if you got anything out of it, please drop a like. Comment down below if you have any start-sit questions, anyone waiver wire questions. I'll be answering every single comment in the comment section. I appreciate you guys.